Well, the structure for the Plano box supports is finished, and now I have to just add sides, a top and a bottom. There'll be a side here, drawers up here, a face over there, and little by little we're going to be enclosing this battery compartment. But that's okay, we got vents set up. I'm going to have a fan over here on the front side, and I got, do you remember these? Yeah, I cut a piece off and spray painted it, and it's going to go over one of these computer fans, and they're really whisper quiet. That'll be on the face right about here, and that's going to draw air in, and then it should go right out the side of the truck. I've got two of them. I've got another fan that I have to install behind the fridge that'll draw some of the heat out that it makes, along with the other battery compartment stuff. And this is going to get a face on it as well. I'll have a cutout down here for my power station and other little monitoring devices that I have for the solar panel situation, and that'll be put here along with outlets. I've thought about that for quite some time, and the framing is just about there. I just needed a face for it. So I figured in order to do that, I don't really need anything too substantial. 1/4-inch plywood would be just fine, but it's still 30 bucks a sheet, and I didn't want to be inefficient when it came to cutting the pieces that I need. So I first made a cut list of all the pieces that I would need, and then what I did is I cut them out of graph paper, and I laid them out on top of a scale drawing of something that was 4 by 8, and I was able to figure out what is the most efficient way to lay out all these pieces so that I wouldn't be wasting any material. And this is what I came up with. And not only was I able to incorporate all of that into 2 sheets, I thought I might need 3, but I'll have like half a sheet left over, and that can be used somewhere else as the construction of underneath the workbench continues. Like, there'll be drawers all across there, like I said, and one above the sewing machine here, and I'll have sewing stuff in it. I plan to have wrenches and pliers, and maybe a little junk drawer for miscellaneous stuff. You know, little things like this that I have just kind of laying around. The idea is to be able to take a leaf blower here and not have anything fall off the wall, or drive this thing down the road and not have anything fall or rattle too bad. But we're not there yet. Small steps. Right now, let's mark the layout for all those pieces of plywood that I need. Where am I going to do that? Bet I could bring them in. Yes. I'm thinking I can bring the sheets of plywood in and lay them on the floor. I'm getting older. I don't want to work on the floor no more. I do have a workbench here. Put that aside. Put you over here. And there you go. I'll put the plywood up here. This will be my workbench. I find myself quite often thankful that I took the time to build this picnic table. Not only, of course, is it a good place to sit down, but it makes for a nice outdoor workbench. I guess one of the only issues that I have with this thing is the lighting. Many times as you are under the trees, the lighting can be really mottled and sometimes difficult to see. In real life it was a little bit better than you see here on camera, but it made laying out the cuts a little bit more difficult than I would have liked. One thing I wasn't going to do though, for sure, was cut on the table. I didn't want to mess up this nice picnic table that I made myself. Before I cut this up into smaller pieces and proceed with that project, I'm going to do something a lot more satisfying, I think, and a lot easier. And that involves this. It's funny how long it took me to actually secure this vise. After all, it's only 3 bolts. It's your home. Oh, those are too big. And ain't nothing easy. bet that's hot. Be careful, custom fit. But I guess I let it sit there for so long because I really wanted to make sure that that's where I wanted it. And after a while I realized it's not really in the way there, and I did find myself using it even before I bolted it down a bunch of times. So when I finally did make the decision to install it, I stopped everything I was doing to get it done. There are a million things in this workshop that are like that, where you stare at it for a long time and then finally decide to do something about it, and you just keep chipping away. This, like the outdoor shower and building the picnic table, is something that I'll wind up using again and again and again in the future. Look at that. Oh man. That is pretty neat. Welcome home, baby. Alright, back to our project. Someday I sure would like to have an outdoor workbench, not the picnic table, but someplace dedicated to doing stuff like woodworking and cutting. In the meantime, my storage boxes outside the workbench suffice just fine, even though they're a little bit wobbly. But what is nice is the new batteries I got from my cordless tools. They're not DeWalt brands, they're knockoffs, but they're a lot cheaper, and they're certainly getting the job done. New batteries. All the pieces that I had measured out, I didn't quite plan on using right away, but by cutting all these pieces now, it made storing them a lot easier until they were ready for installation. My only hope was that, because my measurements were rather rough, that these pieces would all eventually fit. So I tried to make them slightly bigger than I thought they had to be, because I could always trim them up later. As I took all these boxes out for what I hoped would be the last time, I was trying to envision how I was going to put this box together. Typically, if you were building something at this point, it would be probably a good time to check the instructions, like what is step 1, step 2, etc., etc. Unfortunately, there were no instructions, and I was going to have to figure this out myself. Does it fit? Does it fit? After some contemplation, I decided that this thin plywood would be best assembled with some brad nails and a bunch of glue. Whether or not that was the best way to do it, I wasn't sure, but those were the things that I happened to have on hand. I just want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Ron, who taught me a lot about construction and tools and maintenance, and really browbeat me into always oiling my nail guns before I use them. I think we all need somebody in our life to help make sure that we practice good habits when we're using our shop tools. You know, I gotta tell you guys that what you're seeing here is me in my happy place. Me in my workshop, tucked away into the woods in a nice quiet setting. Me with the ability to just shut my mind off and work on a simple project, something immediate right there in front of me, figure it out and try to make it work. And these are the times I guess I am most content. Not worried about storms or bills or, you know, all the heaviness of life that comes along. This was me here and now in the moment. By concentrating pretty hard too, it was easy to forget how many other little tiny projects still had to be done to make this workshop work. You see my dog Jabby over there. She doesn't like the pops, so she stayed over by the travel trailer. As I continued, one of the things I tried to do is make sure that this thing was going to fit when it was finally assembled. Little by little, as I build it, it tweaks, and it's maybe not quite square, but no amount of thinking was really going to make that better. So the only way to really do it is just proceed, and eventually I would see whether or not this thing was going to work. On that account, you can see me putting the boxes back to make sure that those centerpieces are actually going to work out. I didn't want to assemble it and then not being able to get the boxes in there. But all in all, this thing came together really nicely. I thought I'd be able to use one strip of brad nails, but here you see me going for a second set. Brad nails are cheap anyways, and all in all it didn't cost that much to make, which was nice. What else would be nice is to see if this thing actually fits. Eventually I realized that that top piece that I had put in was going to have to come out and get repositioned. That'd be a heck of a lot easier than redoing the box. And the drawers that were going to go above this box hadn't even begun yet. So this was actually an easy decision. The next thin pre-cut piece of plywood that I would work on would be my power station, kinda, sorta. Up in the top right you can see the chair that I spend a lot of my time in while inside this workshop. And right next to that is where this panel would go. It would have the little monitoring device for the solar panels, an outlet, and some other gadgets that would help me keep tabs on the status of everything inside this workshop. This is yet again one thing that I have been looking forward to seeing come to fruition for a long time. After I clamped this thing in place, I was able to mark out where the door would be on the face of it. I wanted to have access inside the cabinet where my power station would be, for things like charging my phone and other things I use my power station for. Now for you. This fan that I'm installing was pretty important in my mind, especially seeing how once this face was on, I was really going to be closing in the compartment where the batteries were. I wanted to make sure that that compartment was vented properly to get any heat and or nasty gases out of there. That should do it. Yeah. Okay, I got a couple things. I'm going to put a receptacle there, monitoring dealie for the solar array, one of them at least. The other one, as you can see, is installed. This one is going to go right there. That should be pretty easy. Unplug that, stick that there, put a couple screws in it. Anyways, I have this, which will turn the inverter on and off. That's going to go right there. Let me batten them down and I'll be right back. That's sweet. Not only is the machine working, but I'm showing full batteries. Isn't that lovely? That is. Anywho's, I got this receptacle here, and the end of it is a plug. So it's kind of like an extension cord. Easy peasy. Not like wiring a house or anything, which I've played with many, many times. Yep, fused up. And we're running. Sweet. Alright. Now we're pretty close to having the battery box and refrigerator box, which is all combined into one, sealed off. I need to cover the back of this and have some quick release screws so I can get back there to access stuff. And in the bottom as well, there's going to be a backer. I've already got them cut. I think first though, I'm going to make this into a cover for this fan. It's just way too exposed. I'm always putting stuff back here behind the chair in the corner, and I just don't want anything to bang into that fan. So let's drill some holes, because these holes that are already in it are too close to the holes that hold the fan in, of course. No big deal though. I'll just do like I did over here and put some screws in the outside corners, and that'll protect the fan. And cue high speed, which I wish life was really like. Okay, I need a piece of wood. Thank you. Mr. I was almost trash. Now I'm serving a purpose. Whew, so tough stuff. Whew, it's also hot. You sleeping? Did you miss that? I was drilling a hole and it got hot, and then I touched it, and I'm glad you're laughing. You're having a good time. Got some screws that should go through those holes. And they don't. And now, sleepyhead, the screws, they fit. Let's install. Isn't that neat? Sometimes I like to screw it myself as the editor and do things like that. Okay, there. Boom. Nothing can touch. You see? Like if I have the chair here and I want to store the umbrella in the corner. No. It's not going to hit the fan. Smart. There's another thing that I tend to put in the corner a lot.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Not baby, the tripod. There you go. No worries. It's starting to look pretty neat. Okay, we got a few more pieces to put up. I will rip through that real fast, and we'll come back and conclude what I've done with these battery boxes. Stay tuned. Oh my God, he's drinking beer while he's working. How dare he? These magnets are kind of chintz. I have to add some Velcro to that, because I like the idea of knowing what the temperature and humidity are. Alright, anyways. Next I'm working on the cover for the electronics compartment. For this I'm going to use screws to secure it so that I can get back in there whenever I have to. This cabinet as a whole is going to remain open. No doors or anything like that. Eventually it would be where I store my chop saw. Gotta love a dual purpose. This hole allows me to get this piece of plywood in and out when I have to service the batteries. And it's a nice little cubby for my EBL power pack. Sweet. Well, this video is starting to get a little bit long, so I guess I'll end it here. There's going to be a lot more painting and building and outfitting of this mobile workshop. I've gotten a lot of good feedback from it so far. I appreciate all that. I appreciate your comments and likes and all that good stuff. I hope to make more content for you guys really soon. Thanks for watching.